So let's move on to the AFC South. If I
Oh,
were to
the
say
AFC
that
South.
the AFC East is probably one of the best divisions in football, this is probably one of the more mediocre divisions in football.
Yeah,
And you got some teams in here. So let's start with the Titans. So the Titans still feel as if they're in win mode now, or they're win now mode.
They are.
They are in win now mode, but I'm not sure. Like when you hear that, I think of the New York Jets as in, okay, we're going all in. We're getting the one position that we need. They're going to rely on Ryan Tannehill. Malik Willis is still out there, but from what we know, he didn't play well last year, but the situation wasn't that great.
No.
Derrick Henry, you have to ask yourself, is he still the guy? And I mean the guy that he has been, because running backs, it's like that.
Yeah.
Like you're done. And they just traded or signed DeAndre Hopkins, who I think is on the downward part of his career.
Maybe.
We don't know.
It's hard to tell. Look, he's playing in Arizona. This guy.
It's hard to tell. But this is what they're banking on. I think their defense was serviceable last year.
Yeah, they had a good defense, and they got some great players on the defensive line, and that makes a big difference. But
so this is one of those teams that it's like if the Patriots was in this division, they would actually probably be in a better situation.
Oh, yeah.
So I think the Titans are going to be a playoff contender this year. It's just a matter of, are they actually dangerous in any way? Like, they don't feel that way to me.
Yeah, man, you're right. It's the Ryan Tannehill. I mean, DeAndre Hopkins that was what happened last year, right? They lost their big receiver. What a great pickup for Philly. I mean, good God. But like they lost their big receiver, and all of a sudden they became a one-trick pony offense. It was they're running through Derrick Henry, they weren't winning. And maybe with DeAndre Hopkins, Ryan Tannehill can have a better year, and that can open things up for Derrick Henry, assuming he's still healthy. But for the most part, it feels kind of like a team that's like, well, we're going to see what we can do with the old guard here. And we drafted a couple quarterbacks 2 years now in a row. We drafted Willis and then Will Levis, which, by the way, when someone keeps talking about the Willis versus Levis, I keep thinking like Willis versus Levis. It messes me up because like Will Levis. I don't know. It's weird. But so the Willis versus Levis, who's the future for this franchise going forward? They kind of did that, I think, as a way to recharge. I think you mentioned to me a little bit about how you thought Vrabel was, could this mean Vrabel could be on the hot seat? I don't think he is. I think he's done such a good job of like making people trust him as a coach that I think this could be one of the seasons where even if they don't do well this season, I think people would be like, it's okay, Vrabel will find a way. Let's give him some time to see what he can redo now. Okay, that means Tannehill's probably gone. Okay, let's see how these young quarterbacks are playing. What's he going to do to restock the offense? We'll see what happens there. But I think they're an interesting team. And I think the past makes us think that they're maybe competitive, but I think that like if you put the Tennessee Titans against the top tier teams from the other divisions, including another team in their division we'll talk about shortly, they just kind of fall, to me, they just fall kind of like they're way on the downswing, I think.
Yeah, they don't seem like a team that's going to really make any noise, but I agree with you about Vrabel. I don't think he's on the hot seat because I think Mike Vrabel has created, I hate to use the word like a culture there, but he's not the kind of guy who strikes me as he's a likable guy. At least he seems to be. So if they're losing, he's not the Rex Ryan type. Remember, Rex Ryan still talked as if they were winning when they weren't winning. I think Mike Vrabel is at least making an attempt, or the franchise is making an attempt. It's just they don't seem dangerous. Now, the other team that you talked about is the Jacksonville Jaguars, who last year you picked to win the division, and they didn't win the division, but they certainly made the playoffs and ended up getting what was a historic win against the Chargers, who we'll talk about in a minute.
Yeah.
So the Jaguars get rid of Urban Meyer. Awesome.
Yep.
They bring in Doug Peterson, a Super Bowl winning coach, and it takes a little bit, but they find it. Trevor Lawrence looks like a completely different quarterback.
Much better.
They get into the playoffs. They have the Chargers, and the Chargers steamroll them in the first half. But like a lot of teams that make that jump who have a good head coach, they come back and win the football game. They go to Kansas City. They're outclassed by Kansas City, but not blown away. The doors aren't blown off of them. And it feels like, all right, this is the young team stepping up to the big dog in the yard. And it's just like, hey, you'll get us next time. It happens all the time in sports. You see these up-and-coming teams. But I think that now this year, obviously there's a target on their back because they're not going to surprise anybody. But Peterson, again, he has a good rapport with this team. Trevor Lawrence was playing with confidence last year.
Yeah.
And I think that they have developed that mentality to win because when you win a playoff game like they won it, they have they have a data point that says we can do this now. The question is, Are they going to be able to sustain it throughout the entire season? They're in a weak division, so they could be on good footing with a 4-2 record, let's say, in the division. And then how do you fare against the rest of it? They're playing a tougher schedule than they did last year. What do you think?
I think this is a very good football team, honestly. I think they'll win their division. I think they're the best. They're clearly, I think they are. I know people love Tennessee, but I just think they're the best. They are the best football team in this division, assuming they don't have, obviously, injuries are always the big equalizer. We all know that. I just think they have a young quarterback who's much, much better than his first year. He's got the confidence. The team around him is strong. It's an offense. Their defense is good. They've learned how to come back and win games that they were losing. They did it both in the playoffs. They did it against the Cowboys last year as well, late in the year.
Just beat the Cowboys in the preseason,
They
too, didn't they?
did. They played their starters,
Not that it matters.
which is weird. That was a big thing there. I saw Trevor Lawrence played like 3 or 4 series. Probably bought himself an extra series because his first throw was an interception. But, that being said, it's preseason. I don't judge anybody in preseason because he's playing against the twos, but I don't know how many of his ones are out there with him. And we know there's no game planning or any of that stuff. So it's just kind of like, I just like to watch people play football a little bit. And it was interesting to watch. I think they're going to be a good team. Yeah. I think the Jaguars are they're an ascending team for sure.
I think I agree with you. If I were to look at this and give a prediction, I would think the Jaguars are the team to beat in this division because I just don't have a lot of faith in the Titans. And I just feel like there's 2 good coaches there. I mean, Vrabel and Peterson are 2 good coaches, and they each are dealing with different things. And I think if I was going to be one of them, I'd want to be Doug Peterson with the up-and-coming guy. I mean, Trevor Lawrence clearly has a lot of talent, and it's amazing. It was night and day from Urban Meyer using him to Doug Peterson using him, and that is a sign of a good head coach. And Philadelphia let him go.
Young cornerback, young running back.
Yes.
Versus old quarterback, old running back. I mean, just kind of old receiver, young receiver.
Yeah.
I just feel like the youth at some point is going to propel them above the Titans. Maybe this year, if my prediction is correct. If not, definitely beyond.
Yeah. And this is a very top-heavy division because the next 2 teams, we have the Indianapolis Colts and the Houston Texans. Now, there is no way you could describe 2022 for the Colts without using the term dumpster fire between the Jeff Saturday stuff, trading for Matt Ryan, continuing this trend of not having a franchise quarterback. It's just weird. They have Carson Wentz and Matt Ryan and Phillip Rivers. Now, they made the playoffs with Rivers, but my point is when you turn the page on quarterback, you want to have some kind of a game plan. So
yeah, well, 2 things make that happen. Right? It's what standard team happens to teams is they draft a quarterback early and they're a complete bust, and they don't have a backup plan, and they are hosed for like 4 seasons. The other thing that can happen is you could draft the exact right quarterback who is a potential Hall of Famer, and he can retire on you. And that's where you stick with the Indianapolis Colts. And so they've been in quarterback purgatory for 3 seasons now and haven't figured it out. And unfortunately, they probably wasted a little bit of talent along the way. I don't know if they're there yet. I just don't know that Richardson, the draft pick, is ready. I don't know that Minshew is. It's Minshew, right? Yeah. I just don't know that. They just feel like, especially, and then you got Taylor is upset, or I don't know.
That's a weird situation. That's a good segue, this running back stuff, because that made the news, a few weeks ago about the running backs and crying collusion. I don't think they were crying collusion, but I think the narrative was, oh, wow, people aren't paying running backs, And I think from a business sense in today's NFL, that's smart business because I think you need running backs. If you look at Danny Dimes last year, not the same guy when Saquon wasn't in the game.
Yeah.
And obviously you need sort of a tandem, but I think we are long past the days of paying these guys elite money to be a running back. When Jonathan Taylor's a good running back, don't get me wrong. I mean, a great running back. But the question is you're going to pay him this kind of money with all the mileage that he has on him when you could probably get a guy who could do not everything that he does, but a lot of what he does in like the 3rd, 4th, or 5th round of the draft, right? And that's just kind of where we are.
It's just too many teams have determined that they can find the talent when the talent starts to get wear on it. When the current talent gets wear on it, they find that they can get young talent and move on at a lower price. And second contracts, second big contracts for running backs doesn't seem to happen that often. It's just very rare these days. And I don't know why either, because it's not like, well, they get more wear and tear than they used to. I mean, like Emmitt Smith ran the ball forever. Walter Payton ran the ball forever. I don't understand exactly why it is that they wear out so quickly. but they seem to wear out a lot quicker than they used to. Maybe everyone else in the NFL is just getting bigger and faster, and so the hits are just becoming more and more, and it's just taking a toll on the bodies. For whatever it is, I think I don't think it's not people colluding against running backs. I think it's just a matter of it's a straight up, it's the way the business is running. It's just the smart teams are going, I can only got so much space. I got to pay people X, Y, Z. Can't afford to keep paying this guy this amount of money when I can get equal or maybe even slightly less production for a year and then maybe more production over the next 3 years. If I pay less, I'll do that instead.
I think the issue, too, is that a lot of the running backs that have been paid recently, I know Zeke is the guy that everybody talks about, but there have been some other running backs who have gotten big-time money coming off of a lot of wear and tear, and it's just a matter of they're looking at this, and if you were to say, like, Zeke got paid, and we talked about this with the Cowboys, but it came down to, like, the timing of when all of the guys hit the market.
Yeah.
And that timing just was bad for them.
Yeah.
But
that was a bad deal for the Dallas Cowboys. But at the same time, they got it. I say that. Great running back, better teammate over the last 4 years.
Right.
And even now, still a great running back. Can do things that people just can't do. He just is not the same running back that started his career. He was clearly lost a step compared to that. And it's it is what it is.
But it comes down to when you look at the value that they got for that kind of money. And it's a business thing,
I think
right?
they got okay value.
Okay value.
Yeah.
But when you're talking about paying these guys and those contracts could set you back when your quarterback is ready to come up, those are decisions that every NFL team has to make because it's no longer the way that you can just underpay these guys. And so I think the Colts, going back to them, even if they put all of these things together, Richardson has a decent rookie year. This is a sub 7-win team because there's just not a lot of talent. And the Houston Texans are in the same boat. Their quarterback has a little bit more. He's a little bit more game ready, obviously playing at Ohio State. C.J. Stroud is what we're talking about. But the team overall just absolutely stinks. The franchise is not in a place where I feel like they really can get it right. They haven't really put the pieces around. I mean, even they had Deshaun Watson, who we both can't stand, but obviously when he was playing for the Texans was a great quarterback, and they signed him and then didn't do anything else with it. And so I think this is a team that's going to be the bottom feeders in the AFC and probably in the NFL. I don't see them making some huge leap. It's just a matter of, can C.J. Stroud get enough reps and stay healthy enough to get better?
How many years did C.J. Stroud start at Ohio State?
It was 1 or 2. But he at least played in some big-time games. I personally...
I'm always a little weary of the whole... I'm very weary of a quarterback that has only played 1 or 2 seasons in a college game. I don't care who they play for. I think you can look and see, and I think if you're going to be good early, there is something to be said for having multiple college seasons under your belt.
I don't
He may be good eventually, but I think you're right. I think he will probably struggle in this first year.
Oh, 100%.
Especially on a team that's just not very good.
That's the issue with a lot of these quarterbacks that get drafted. First of all, the high expectations. So C.J. Stroud, I mean, I think that there is something to be said about, even if you played 1 or 2 seasons, if you've gone to the college football playoff, you're at least playing high-level caliber teams in big-time moments. And I do think that matters.
Sure.
In the sense that you're getting big pressure moments against teams that have a lot of talent.
Yeah.
Not all NFL talent, but there's at least a lot of talent. They played Georgia last year.
Yeah.
I think we can objectively say that Georgia was good last year. I think they had a lot of NFL talent on their squad.
Yeah.
And so they almost won that game. So he's at least got that going for him. But a lot of these guys get drafted to these teams that have a lot of needs. Quarterback just happens to be one of them. And now they're thrust into these situations, 0 weapons, 0 protection. You just hope that they don't get hurt.
Yeah.
And I think that's where the Texans are. And so they're not going to be any good. They're going to be an afterthought. They're probably going to be a guaranteed win for a vast majority of teams on their schedule. And that's all that it is.